For 28 years, a small town believed a monster was hiding in the shadows, but the real horror was kneeling beside them in prayer. It was an April Sunday in the quiet community of Oak Hollow. The sun cast long, gentle shadows across the manicured lawns and quiet streets. Inside the Oak Hollow Community Chapel, the air was thick with the scent of old hymnals and fresh coffee. The Miller family sat in their usual pew. David, his wife Sarah, and their 6-year-old daughter Lily. She was all bright eyes and restless energy, her red sneakers tapping a silent rhythm against the wooden floor. That morning, no one could have known those small, impatient feet would soon vanish without a trace. The service concluded with a final prayer. The congregation spilled out into the bright sunlight, a river of handshakes and weekend plans. Sarah stayed behind for a moment discussing the summer picnic. David, she assumed, had taken Lily outside, but when she stepped into the parking lot, the crowd was thinning. Her eyes scanned for a flash of Lily's blue jacket. It was nowhere. "David?" Her voice was light, then sharper. "Where's Lily?" His face went blank. "I thought she was with you." In that single, breathless moment, the foundation of their world cracked open. Chaos erupted. Voices called Lily's name, first with hope, then with rising dread. The sheriff's department arrived, their cruisers painting the gravel in streaks of red and blue. An elderly usher recalled a faded green sedan pulling away quickly, but he hadn't thought much of it. The search began immediately. Volunteers fanned out through the surrounding woods, their flashlights cutting beams through the growing dusk. K9 units picked up a scent near the tree line, but it faded to nothing by an old logging road. As night fell, the town of Oak Hollow was forever changed. Hope was a fragile, flickering light. Days bled into weeks. The green sedan became a ghost, seen everywhere and nowhere. Posters of Lily's smiling face were plastered on every store window and phone pole. The Millers became living ghosts themselves, their eyes hollow with a pain no one could soothe. The investigation turned its gaze inward to the people who had been in the chapel that day. One name surfaced: Arthur Pike. The church's quiet custodian, a man who moved through the background like a shadow. He was questioned. His alibi was simple. He'd gone straight home to fix a leaky faucet. A neighbor confirmed it. A search of his small apartment revealed nothing but tools and old newspapers, but the detectives felt a persistent unease. Arthur Pike had keys to every door, knowledge of every hidden corner. He was released, but a seed of dark suspicion was planted in the community's heart. Sometimes the most dangerous secrets are kept by the most trusted hands. Years folded into decades. The case grew cold, a thick layer of dust settling over the file. The Millers eventually moved away, unable to bear the weight of the memories that haunted every street. The chapel itself began to decay, its paint peeling, its congregation dwindling to a handful of souls. Then in 2018, a new pastor took over, determined to restore the crumbling building to its former grace. During renovations, a worker's hammer struck a hollow section of the basement wall. Behind a facade of newer bricks was a sealed space no blueprint had ever recorded. The air that escaped was cold and carried the unmistakable scent of time and loss. A detective shone his light inside. There, nestled in the dust, was a single red sneaker. Then a tarnished silver locket, its tiny clasp still shut. The items were photographed and bagged, each one a silent scream from the past. The cold case was ripped open. After 28 years, Lily Miller had been found. The DNA confirmation sent a seismic shock through the town. The quiet faith that had once defined Oak Hollow curdled into something darker. Investigators returned to the old files, their focus narrowing like a laser on one man, Arthur Pike. Now in his 70s, he was living in a retirement community 2 towns over. When detectives arrived, he showed no surprise. He simply nodded, as if he'd been waiting for this knock on his door for most of his adult life. He denied everything, of course. He claimed the materials used to seal the wall, concrete, and lumber purchased just days after Lily vanished were for a simple drainage fix. But there were no work orders, no records of any such repair. Then they found a journal entry written by his late sister. It spoke of a burden too heavy to carry, a secret about the child that was tearing her apart. It wasn't a confession, but it was a crack in his armor. The man who had hidden in plain sight was finally being exposed. Confronted with the journal and the purchase records, Arthur Pike's calm facade finally shattered. In a sterile interrogation room, he confessed. He claimed it was an accident, that Lily had run behind his car as he was leaving. He panicked, he said. He hid her body in a space he knew no one would ever check. But the forensics told a more sinister story. The evidence suggested she had been alive briefly in that dark, sealed tomb. His story of a tragic accident was a lie crafted over decades. Before formal charges could be filed, Arthur Pike died in his sleep. For the Miller family, it was a hollow, infuriating conclusion. Closure is not justice, it is just the end of searching. They returned to Oak Hollow for a small memorial service at the now vacant lot where the chapel once stood. The building had been demolished, the earth reclaimed by weeds and wildflowers. A simple stone marker read, "Lily Miller, remembered, loved, at peace." The detective who solved the case was later interviewed. He said, "We look for monsters under the bed, but they're often the ones who hold the door open for you." The truth had finally been dragged into the light, not through a trial, but through relentless persistence. It was a bitter resolution, one that left a permanent scar on everyone it touched. The silence that remained was louder than any confession. If these stories that uncover the hidden truths of our world matter to you, please support this channel by liking this video and subscribing to Winds of Thought. Your engagement helps us continue to bring light to the darkest of cases. Now, let me know in the comments, which moment in this story hit you the hardest?